Hey, you guys, it's Johnny from the Shiny Shop, where we slay the day every day. And today I'm going to be showing you guys how to combine fabric and glitter to making this gorgeous side bow sweater. So let's waste no more time and let's get spooktacular. So here are the materials that I'm going to be using for today's video. You're going to need your stabilizer paper, this tool to make sure that your design is centered, your scissors and your weeding tool. You're also going to be needing your 5x7 hoop, some fabric, and of course some glitter HTV. And get your apparel of your choice. And you know I gotta throw in my shiny flair, so I'm throwing in this super duper cute soft pink, and the actual color name of this color is salmon pink. Even though I hate salmon, I'm still using the color, so let's get into it. And this is one of the hardest parts, is choosing the perfect thread color to choose from. But that's when I thought, let me add my shiny flair. Oh, and there goes one of the thread colors. But that's when I'm choosing this gorgeous light pink into one of my favorite drawers in my room, my HTV drawer. Like, how gorgeous are all of these HTVs to choose from? But today, we're going to be using this stunning black. This is a very crucial step to doing embroidery. You're going to want to remember always to include stabilizer paper. And we over here at Shiny Shop, we are bougie on a budget and we don't waste no materials. That's right. If you place your frame down, you can just cut right around it, so that way you're wasting no materials. So that's when you're going to loosen up that screw to loosen up your frame, and you are going to stick it right inside your shirt. I feel like one thing with embroidery is you always want to make sure everything is like flat and smooth, unlike this booty, but like, so flat and smooth is the way to go. And this is why we cut around the frame when cutting out our stabilizer paper, because when sticking it into your shirt, you don't want to be like guessing and thinking like, is it covering the frame? Is it not? It is going to stress you out. So that's why you cut it a little bit bigger to what your frame size is. That way you are not giving yourself a headache later on. And then that's when you take this grid tool. That's probably not the name of the tool, but it's the magic tool that makes sure that your design is perfectly centered. And then that's when you can take the top portion of your frame, and you know where's the top portion when you see the arrow right here telling you that, baby, it is the top portion. So then you push with all your force like you are almighty and make sure that your frame is locked in. And we are going to secure that frame right now, babe, by tightening that screw to make sure it is nice and tight. Like, I am talking about tight. And that's when you can flip your garment back over and you can pull a little bit, just a little bit. Like, don't play no tug of war with your garment. I'm talking about give it a little pull to make sure your frame is nice and tight. Like, but why do I keep saying tight? I mean, but that's the key word here. Do that little flick test to make sure, babe. Look at me looking a hot mess just to show you what it's supposed to look like. I'm getting excited. We are now turning on our embroidery machine. But if only I remember to plug it in. So after you plug your machine in, it is going to power on. And don't get scared, but it's going to move into position. Make sure your needle is raised, and that's when you can slide your garment right underneath it and then clip your thing into the clip thing to attach it on to your machine. Please, if I say so myself, make sure your apparel is not going to get stuck in your needle. Now that we got that all situated, let's head over into the Embroidered design database transfer. So today I'm going to be embroidering the word boo. So let's get the word boo over here and make sure it is going to the right embroidery machine. And then you're going to click this little folder with the arrow to send on over. And just like that, baby, it is there. So that's when you can click this little Wi-Fi symbol. Click on the frame size you are using and the design that you are choosing. And this part is totally optional, but guess what? I'm going to be a little extra and I'm going to do it. So that's when you can actually go in and change the color of what your design is going to look like. Because, of course, I am using salmon pink. Even though, like I said, I hate salmon, but we are using it. So once you are happy with how your design is going to look, you click on embroidery, and then it's going to tell you how much thread it's going to use and how long, and it's going to tell you every step of what it's going to embroider. The first step is for the outline, the second step is to lock it in place, and the third step is to really give it that bold effect. Yes, one day I will be doing a full tutorial on all the nicks and crannies of what the embroidery comes with, but today I am just going to be fast forwarding through what I do to insert my thread into my machine. But it's quite simple. You just have to follow the numbers going up, down, left, right. Okay, that sounds a little bit confusing, but it's really simple. Trust me, I literally could have threw my embroidery machine out the wall several times when I first got it because this was so hard to get. But with a little practice, you will master it. I don't stress this enough because of how many times my machine has gotten caught in my dang apparel. You want to make sure everything is flat, nothing is going to get caught in your machine or nothing is overlapping. So once you do that, let's press that green button and start embroidering. And the first step it's going to do is that initial outline. Because we're using fabric for the word boo, and now I know exactly how much I have to cut out, it's now time to insert our fabric into our machine after making sure our needle is up. Maybe a little extra for this, but I always make sure everything is flat every time I put something into my machine and make sure nothing is overlapping, because I swear, like I said, there has been way too many times that I have walked away from my machine and all I hear is and my machine is getting clogged into my apparel and it is a disaster party. So once everything is nice and flat and you are happy, then press the green button and proceed with the next step. It's now going to do another outline of the word boo to then lock in the fabric. Unlike glitter HTV, where you can just let the machine go and do the cleanup process at the end, fabric is a little bit different. So after it does the outline, you then have to remove it from the machine to where it's going to look something like this. And now we're going to cut out all around the word boo. Every letter is going to be cut out individually. And slow and surely wins the race here. You're not going to want to just rush through this part. You're going to want to take your time and cut as close as you can to the word, because the closer you cut, the cleaner your outline is going to be at the finished result. From one thing I've learned from embroidery, from one of the many things I have learned doing embroidery is you do not want to rush the process. But I guess that's why they charge that money, honey, for embroidery, other than the point that it looks freaking gorgeous, but because it is a process to do embroidery. So once you got that all cut up and it is looking something very similar to this, it is now time to stick it back into a machine. But of course, I got the message on the machine that the bobbin was running out, so I had to fill that up real quick. So now that our bobbin is filled up, and I of course didn't show you guys because I am going to make another video to make sure you guys are returning. But now we insert our frame back into our machine, make sure it is clipped in, and this is the part again where you double check, triple check, quadruple check, however many checks you want to do to make sure you are comfortable and that your shirt is not going to get stuck into your machine. And that's when you can make sure your needle plate is down and then press that green button to get going. Don't tell my mans, but I took his alligator clips. Shh, I am recording a voiceover right next to him and he can't even hear me because he's on his games. But I took these alligator clips from him to make sure that my apparel doesn't get stuck. And it's honestly really helpful because look, literally my apparel is getting nowhere close to my needle or gonna get jammed. There's one thing I swear I could do forever. It is for sure, hands down, embroidery, because how satisfying is this? So after the last 19 minutes are over and the final process of your design is complete, it is now time to take out your hoop from your machine. Make sure your needle plate is raised up and then carefully slide out your hoop. And then voila, look how gorgeous it already looks. You guys are probably thinking like, oh my god, it is so gorgeous, but it is gonna get even more gorgeous-er, if that is even a word, but I just made it a word. So that's when you are then gonna want to flip your garment inside out and do the most satisfying part ever of the process, removing the stabilizer paper. Try to get out as much of stabilizer paper as possible, but don't stress yourself out if you can't get every little nick and cranny. I mean, if you're a perfectionist, that's fine, do what you gotta do, boo-boo. But that's when your weeder tool comes in handy to get out those little itty-bitty pieces that are just stubborn and do not want to leave. And then that's when you can get your little scissors and give it a snippety, nippity. Okay, give it a snip and get out those little pieces of thread that are gonna make you itchy when when you are wearing your sweater. Like, come on, if the inside of your sweater doesn't look this clean from doing embroidery, I don't want it. Yes, I could have saved this step to do at the very end when I did all the cleanup process, but I was just too dang excited because look how gorgeous it already is turning out. Immense phase 2. Imagine I talk like that. I'm dead. So now it's time to cut out more stabilizer paper. You already know I got that stabilizer paper on deck. I'm cutting out 2 already because I am being smart and a hider. Stabilizer pieces of paper because I'm doing a side bow on each side of my sweater. And now it's time to loosen up that little screwy screw. Instead of sticking our frame in horizontally, we're going to be doing it vertical because we are doing a bow. And the bow is obviously vertical. It is not a big, wide, fat bow. Okay? I don't know, but just put in your frame vertical because that is how it's supposed to be positioned. Okay? Listen to the master, the pro. Not a pro, I'm just joking. I am just the person in charge of this tutorial. So then, after you insert your stabilizer paper, do what I tell you to always do with everything with embroidery. And make sure everything is flat. Make sure everything is smooth. Be very delicate with it. Very demure with it. Then you're gonna take your grid tool thingy that I don't know what the name of it is, and make sure your design is going to be nice and centered. And then that's when you can take your top part of your frame again and push down on that thing to get it nice and secure on there. And if you guys don't know, if you do pull your fabric at this point a little too tight, you could risk pulling out the frame completely from your apparel and having to reframe it all over again, which, yes, it isn't hard, but it is a pain in the booty. So that's why I say to do a little pull from each side. And then that's when you're gonna tighten that screw again to make sure that your frame is nice and locked in. And yeah, tighten it, like, come on, put your back into it. You know. And then that's when you're gonna make sure your frame is nice and tight by giving it the flick test. So that's when you go back into your software, or I mean, you could have done this when you transferred over your first design. You're gonna wanna transfer over your bow design to your machine. After making sure your needle is pushed up, that's when you can insert your frame back into your machine. Find that little Wi-Fi logo on the front of the screen, click it, and then click to find your bow and select, and then that's when we're gonna push up our bow a very little bit, and we're gonna press OK, edit end, and then that's when we can click on embroidery so we can see how long it's gonna take and how much thread this is going to take. Can you really believe we're almost done? So that's when you're gonna press that green button, and guess what it's gonna do now? Yes, that's correct. It's gonna do the outline. Now that we know exactly how much heat transfer vinyl we need to cut out to put on our design, you're then going to peel back that plastic film from the HTV, make sure your needle is up, and then slide it right underneath. And then that's when you can press the green button to get going with the next step, but make sure you are by your side of your embroidery machine because as you can see, things get to moving and the apparel gets to get close to the needle, and the last thing you want is it getting stuck. The cool part about this machine is as you're actually embroidering, you can then check how much time is left and how much thread it is being used. It's now time to press the green button one more time to do the last step of the bow. Incorporating glitter into my apparel is just one of my favorite things to do because if you know me, glitter is absolute life. And if I can wear glitter, you know I'm going to. And this is just one of the most satisfying parts is shutting the lights off and watching the vibe. Just look how gorgeous it looks after taking it out of the embroidery machine. So then you're gonna wanna repeat steps A, B, C, and D. JK, you're gonna wanna repeat the steps that we did for the other part of the sweater onto the other side of the sweater. And this just happens to be one of the many possibilities you can do with your embroidery machine. Just for instance, I'm using fabric and glitter today, but you could be using double glitter, you could be using all fabric. The possibilities are absolutely endless. And just like that, your machine is going to say that you are finished embroidering, so then you can then shut off your machine and head on to the next step. And will you look at that? Look how gorgeous, and look at that glitter just shimmering. I am obsessed. And this is honestly one of my favorite steps is peeling back that HTV from the design. Like, how absolutely satisfying. Now, hear me out, y'all. Do you think I should invest in one of those mics so I can do like an ASMR? Because seriously, like, this would be A1, and let me get my ASMR voice out and ready for you guys. Imagine, like, I swear it is coming. Do not worry, y'all. And for these pesky little stubborn pieces of glitter that do not want to get out, that's when you can take your weeder tool, or if you are a lucky one and you got nails, you can go in and take out them little crusties that got to go. And then that's when you can do your little snippity snip snip snipperoo and get rid of those little extra pieces of thread that are sticking through. And now you can pop out your frame and flip inside out your sweater and then take out all your stabilizer paper as much as you can get out. And obviously, again, do not worry if you absolutely can't get out any little pieces. Those honestly aren't really going to matter, but try getting out as much as you can. Like, come on, get you an embroiderer that can get you right like this. One thing about me is I am not gonna just send off any piece of apparel or any product in general without making sure it is to the best of my ability. So that's why I make sure I take my time and I make sure everything is nice and cleaned up. Now, would you look at that? How gorgeous. Because we're working with heat transfer vinyl, you're going to want to heat press it. So that's when I'm going to open up my Cricut Auto Press and start heating it up to 320 degrees Fahrenheit for 14 seconds. So this is when you're going to want to hug your Cricut Auto Press. Not like you hug your Cricut Auto Press, because that would burn. Talk about like going to the hospital burning. No, you're gonna want to hug your apparel to your Cricut Auto Press and heat press it for 14 seconds. And then that's when I take my apparel and pretty much just like flatten it down after pressing it to like seal in the deal, babe. And you know me, Shawnee over here, we are all about the quality. So that's why we are going to heat press it for a second time. Not just a one time in, go like bye-bye out the door. You are gonna peel out on your customer. We are making sure that it is heat pressed and not going to leave your apparel. And look at me. I don't know what I'm doing to my machine, but that's when I am going to then press my design one more time with the sleeve to really seal in the deal. And right after that, look, I am going to show you guys that it is not peeling one bit. Like, we can scrunch it up, flip it around, like bend that. It is not leaving anywhere. Like, talk about quality. One of the last steps to completing our side bow sweater is cutting out the inside of the bow. And make sure you go very slow with this, because this is literally the last step and you are not going to want to ruin it now. And just like that, our spectacular fabric glitter HTV sweater is now complete, and I am absolutely in love. Like, look at those clean lines. Look how gorgeous that fabric looks. It is so stinking spectacular, and I am obsessed. This is why I absolutely love using glitter HTV in my embroidery, because look how shimmery it is and glittery. I honestly think choosing this salmon pink color, even though I absolutely hate salmon, made the bows stand out so much. If you're interested in a sweater, don't forget, get those orders in for this Halloween season. I'm definitely gonna come slay the day with this sweater. So I hope you guys love this sweater as much as I loved making it. As always, slay the day, every day. Shawnee out. Mwah.